Hey, family, welcome to another amazing segment of Sound Mind. My name is Bryant Collier. I am your host, and I am so happy that you've decided to join us again today. Listen, over the past few months, you have been so supportive of Hope TV and Sound Mind, and I want to say thank you. As always, it's time to share this stream right now. Yep, right now to your friends, your homies, your tech circle group, your family, your buffet. Let them know Sound Mind is on, and we have a treat for you today. We've had this guest before. We've sat on her couch. Her name is Miss Montre Ashley. She's a certified professional life coach who works with groups and individuals. She specializes in encouraging, equipping, and empowering. She simply gives a needed boost to get us out of our ruts. She is a country girl, as she stated before. She graduated from Valdosta State University. She also has degrees from Central Michigan University and Liberty University. Her motto is hard work always pays off. Let's welcome her back again so that we can sit on her couch. Welcome, Miss Montre Ashley.
Hello again. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here with you.
I'm so happy that you're here. Listen, thank you for being with us. Now, you told us before that you're a country girl and you walked us through some farming analogies. Where are you from?
Well, you probably have heard it before on the Steve Harvey show. I'm from a small town near Tifton, tucked in between Waycross and Tifton, called Willacoochee, Georgia. So I am a Georgia.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, you are. All right. Wow.
Population.
Now,
what now?
No, you were telling us about the population.
2,000 people.
2,000 people. So everybody know everybody.
Everybody knows everybody.
Wow. So where did you meet your husband? I know you just celebrated 20 years. Where did you meet your husband?
Well, 26 to be exactly.
26. My apologies. I better add those 6. We need credit for those 6.
Every time served. Every year's time served. I actually met my husband in college at Valdosta State University.
Okay.
So we were college sweethearts. We dated through college and we married shortly thereafter. Both of us graduated, and we've been joined at the hip ever since.
Wow. Well, congratulations again. I would hope one day to be married that long. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
So let's get into it today. We have an amazing show. People have been talking about it since they've seen the flyer. This time I win conquering the emotional roller coaster. The floor is yours. We're on your couch. Walk us through the emotional roller coaster.
Okay, this is a very passion of mine. Actually, the emotional roller coaster, let's define what an emotional roller coaster is, so that, some people may have been experiencing this and may not even recognize what was going on within them. First of all, an emotional roller coaster is pretty much what it says. You're up, you're down. You may be happy, you may be sad, you may be excited, then you feel a sense of distress. All of those can happen in a very, very short time span. And sometimes it can go nowhere. You can be having a good day and all of a sudden, a spirit of heaviness can come over you and you don't know where it came from. So that's what we call an emotional roller coaster. You're just dealing with an area of emotions in a very, very short period of time. But I can tell you one of the key things is in managing those emotions is you have to identify them. Don't deny them, don't suppress them, nor do you ignore them. Because if you do, they will not go away and they will eat at you just like a cancer. So it's to go ahead and identify them up front and let's just start to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And so in dealing with those emotions, I think, and I know I mentioned on an earlier segment that sometimes we focus on being happy instead of healthy. And our key to being healthy is managing our emotions. And I think what's very important is in the hustle and bustle of life, especially if, you're an executive, you're doing a lot of great things and you're accomplishing things and you feel like you're the strong person. Everybody looks up to you. You know, you're that go-to person for everybody. So you feel like that you can't show your emotions. I know I have been guilty of this, but you have to allow yourself to feel. That is the one thing. If you don't do anything else with your emotions, you have to. It is imperative that you allow yourself to feel. Please allow yourself to feel. Sit in that moment. Sit in those spaces where I just don't feel like doing anything today. Sit in those spaces where you're just crying for no reason. Sit in those spaces where, you know, you may be angry, but whatever it is, allow those emotions to run its course. Because if you don't, they will run you, and then you're going to be running out of something. So it's best that you allow yourself to feel. You have a question?
That's good. No, I was giving you an amen. Can you more express and explain for us what it looks like to sit in it? Because, you know, for some, we may not all understand what it's like to sit in it. And I know those moments are like, and like you said, sometimes we like to just move on. We just like to keep going. Oh, I'm strong enough. I can take it. Can you more expound on what it's like to sit in it?
Sure. And it looks different from everybody. So, you know, keep in mind, just because somebody else is dealing with their emotions doesn't mean that that's the way that you do it. So it looks different. But again, I mentioned earlier, taking off that mask, sitting in it means if you got to drive down the street and cry, go sit at the park and cry, do that. If it means that you have to scream to the top of your lungs, do that. Whatever that is that you need to do to get it out of you that you're suppressing, because most of the time it's some feeling that we're just trying to not allow to overtake us. And, you know, we just don't want to deal with it. But again, if you feel it, sometimes you might feel an urge, something just kind of rising up on the inside of you. Let that come out. And it may not look right. It may not feel right. And it's not supposed to. It's okay if it doesn't, but just let it come up. You know, sometimes my way of coping and dealing with and sitting with myself is sometimes I talk to myself with whatever my circumstance is. If whatever I'm dealing with, I talk it through, put words to it. That always helps because you're hearing yourself. And then sometimes when you hear yourself speak about whatever it is that you're dealing with, you're able to analyze it. You're able to see it from a different view. And also sometimes you'll realize it's not as bad as what it appeared to be as you're speaking it. So sitting in it means let your emotions be raw. Just let it all hang out. If you're angry, say that you're angry and then verbalize what you're angry about. You know, if you're sad, admit that you're sad. I'm sad. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to talk. I don't want to dress up today. I don't want to be Mrs. Fix-It for somebody. I don't want to be Mr. Fix-It today. I want to be by myself. And it's okay to be by yourself. Yeah. Don't be afraid to be alone. Don't be afraid to be alone.
Woo. She's working, y'all. She's working. She's working.
And I believe and I believe you mentioned it earlier about disconnecting to social media. Social media at its best is at its worst. I mean, I just say that. We use it when it's used properly, it's good, but then even in that, it flips on us and it can be turned to something negative. So you have to just you have to dissect it as it applies to you. And you mentioned it earlier, you disconnected. I've disconnected. Sometimes you have to go on a sabbatical from social media because if you don't, it will drive you crazy. You know, you're constantly looking at it, seeing what everybody else is doing. Everybody's putting all the good pictures and, you know, they're doing this and doing that. When in actuality, they're doing nothing. But, you know, it makes you feel like a nobody because you're looking at what they're doing when in actuality, you know, it's not true. So they're living a lie and you're comparing yourself to some fantasy. So do whatever is necessary for you and don't let it mimic somebody else. Let your emotions be raw. It's okay, you know, to not have all the answers. And that's some things sometimes I think we get mixed up too. We want to have all the answers, and you're not going to have all the answers all the time to everything. But the answers that you do have, use those, and then just start to try to apply them to where your situation is at that current moment. But those emotions, I can't express enough. You've got to allow them to flow. You've got to allow yourself to feel. You have got to allow yourself to get to that place where you're vulnerable. And if you don't get to that vulnerable moment, then you won't be able to see that pit in order for you to look up to where you're actually supposed to be. Because
are you suggesting to us that some of us aren't vulnerable with ourselves?
Absolutely. We lie to ourselves all the time. We tell ourselves we're things that we're not, hinging upon what somebody else imposed upon us.
Just keep going.
Sometimes it's hard for you to look at. Sometimes it's hard for us to look in the mirror and say, I messed up. I made this mistake, you know, or I didn't achieve this, or I don't feel like this, or I can't do this. Sometimes we don't want to tell ourselves this, when in actuality, we know that we can't do that. We're not called to do that, but we'll do it simply because we want to please somebody else. So being vulnerable and honest enough to say, you know what, that's not for me. I don't like that. I don't feel that. I've only just been doing it. I've just been going through the motions because of X, Y, Z. I cannot and I will not do that anymore.
Come on. Cannot and will not.
Absolutely. But you have to be strong enough to admit that, but then humble enough to accept whatever that thing is that you're supposed to be doing.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So, you know, mastering your emotions is number one, allow yourself to feel. Don't suppress your emotions. Don't ignore them. Don't try to pretend that they're not there. And then don't overlook them. If you're seeing signs, you know, fatigue, or, you know, you're finding yourself anxious, you know, you're having anxiety, let's take a moment, press the pause button. Let's sit down and say, what's causing all these things? You know, sometimes we say they came out of nowhere, but something triggered it. So we need to find out what those triggers are. What caused us to have these area of emotions? You know, did you just get some bad news? Did you know your tire just blow out? Whatever those things are, and it may be a culmination of different things that cause you, and you can't quite put your finger on it. And it may not be one thing; it may be multiple things. But whatever those things are, you have to sometimes press the pause button, and then after that, we're going to reset. And then, like we mentioned earlier, we're going to pick up where we left off. We're not going to try to jump ahead and do a whole bunch of other stuff. We're going to stay right where we are and use what we have, and then start to try to proceed with what we have at that moment.
That's good. That's good. So you walked us through the first step of in mastering our emotions, to just sit in it, to be there, which is so good, to be honest and vulnerable with ourselves. Where do we move next after that?
After you've gotten to that point, it's very important to, and I failed to mention this, when you're sitting in your emotions and you are feeling how you're feeling, one good practice that you need to have, because you don't want to stay there forever. You know, you still got to live, you still have to move on. One good practice is, and it sounds corny, but set an allotted time to feel that way. Give yourself permission to feel, but then also say, you know what, doggone it, I'm only going to do this for an hour. I'm going to go in this room. I'm going to cry about not getting this promotion, and I'm only going to cry about it for an hour. After that, I'm done and I'm moving on. So give yourself the permission to feel, and then give yourself a time limit to do that. And then once that time has elapsed, now we're gonna get up, shake the dust off, hold our head up, and then that's when we're gonna start reassessing where we are, and then see what we have, and then start trying to move forward with whatever it is that we have to work with. Because if you don't, then you're gonna stay stuck. Stop going back and looking at what didn't happen. Stop replaying, start rewinding, and then start fast forwarding. Because if you keep rewinding, you're gonna stay stuck. It's okay to look at what the mistakes that you made, but then don't stay stuck on them. Okay, I made this mistake. Now I'm going to do this differently going forward. And then don't get stuck in that past, so that you can, it'll allow you to be able to use those tools that you've learned during your assessment period, during your sitting in your moment period, so that you can get ready to go out, because otherwise you won't be equipped to do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing.
That's good. So talk to us. For some of us out here watching today, and I hope you're enjoying this. Please let us know if you're enjoying this today. For some of us that's sitting out there, when we hear about, okay, having our highs and lows, we've normalized it. We say, I just have days like this when I'm just like this. This is who I am. What do we say to people who aren't willing to address where they are emotionally and those places? It affects the people around them, but they are not aware. How can we become aware or heighten our sensitivity of awareness of where we are and how that affects the people around us?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, and I can't say this enough, and I don't want to sound redundant, but going back to taking that selfie, we should do a self-assessment, very, very regularly to see where we are. And if you truly look at yourself in the mirror, you will see that there's a little something that's off. Even in your high moments, there's still something that okay, these some things I need to work on. And once you identify those things, that's when you start to try to put things in place to work on them. Now, are you going to accomplish them immediately? No, because if you've been the way that you are for 50 years, you're not going to conquer it overnight. But as long as you made yourself aware that those things need to happen, and then you start trying to put something into place to work on it, then I think you'll be going in the right direction. But when you're around other people who have those, those moments that they haven't identified that they're having an emotional moment, you have to be really, really careful with pointing them out to them. Because if they're not aware of it, you bringing it to their attention is not going to make matters, better. So my word of advice is, number one, for you to use caution, but you have to know that individual's personality before you can even, bring it to their attention. Be very, very careful. And it's almost like, walking on eggshells with making sure that you're bringing it to their attention. And sometimes it's not for you to bring it to their attention. It is for you to, of course, pray for them, but also you have to allow them that space.
That's good.
You allow them their space, because they're in their particular moment. And at one point you're going to be in yours too. And definitely just proceed with caution. And if the opportunity presents itself for you to address or to bring it to their attention for whatever it is that they're dealing with, and be careful with your words. You don't want to go in, you don't want to use words that will condemn. You want to use words with, that are supportive, words that will show love, and words that will encourage that individual. Say, for example, someone who continuously comes to work late, and that person, their workload is put off on you because, they're always late. You may want to present it to them. Hey, friend, I noticed that, some issues that you might be having, but it could be potentially be something going on at home. So you just have to kind of be careful about how because you just never know what people are dealing with.
Right.
And you don't want to cause them to go in a tailspin.
I love how you just approach that, because I think a lot of times, especially in our culture, 20, we love to get people together. We like to, hey, I just need to let them know about themselves and let them know how they're, and like you said, if we approach them in the wrong way, and they may not be as aware, they may not be ready to, in an emotional, mental place to hear it, we could cause them to tailspin. And then
Right.
it becomes worse than it was before. And I'll be
Right.
honest with you, tragically, that's where a lot of us are. A lot of us are in a place where, twofold, I feel that we know people and we feel like it's our job to get them back on track, and get their lives emotionally stable, but we're unaware of our own stuff. And we're
Absolutely.
in the same place that they're in.
Absolutely. I mean, we are our brother's keeper, but we can only keep them so much. I mean, that it's a good saying to have, but
Mhm.
we also have to keep in mind that we need to work on ourselves. And you mentioned about your approach. Your approach is very, very important, because the climate that we're in is very sensitive. Everybody's got something going on, so you really have to be really particular about you even having those types of conversations with those. But something as going to an individual without you saying anything about their circumstance, even like the situation I've used about the person being late. If you go to say them something like, "I'm here for you," you'd be surprised of the response that you get from people. They were just waiting to know that somebody cared. They were just waiting to know that somebody recognized that they were dealing with something. They just wanted to know that somebody sees them. And for you to go and say something, just say, "Hey, I don't know what it is, but I'm here. I'm here if you need me." And that could open the door to, whatever that particular thing is that they're dealing with. And that was all that they needed. But if you approach them, "I notice you're late all the time. Every day you're late. You're never here on time. And every time you're late, it causes me to have to do your workload." Nobody hear that. But, you're saying something, you're going putting your hand on their shoulder. But of course you have to be careful about the shoulder touching now. But whatever approach that you use, you still, it's just saying, and your tone, that makes a difference. But then you just saying, "I'm here for you." You don't have to tell me what's going on, but I notice that you're just a little off. You're not yourself, but just know that I'm here. And that could make the world a difference for that individual.
I love it. I love it. It's a personal responsibility. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. As we go throughout our day-to-day lives, we are not aware of what we say and how we say it always. And I feel like there's
Mm-hmm.
somebody watching on this side over here that needs to hear it. You've got to watch how you say it. Our tone, our facial expressions, our body language. People respond to that in so many different ways. And it's our responsibility that we, especially with those people that we love and we care about, that we approach things. This is for parents. These are for young parents, older children, in your workplace, in your friend circles. Sometimes we can get so familiar that we
Mm-hmm.
become cold because we don't think that they need that. But you don't know. I'll be honest with you. Like you said, there are days that someone will call me out of the blue and say, "Hey, Brian, I was just thinking about you." And I'm going to plug this in here. Look out for your strong friends. Those people that you don't think ever have a bad day and they're always encouraging someone else. Look out for those people, because those are the main ones that you just need to send a text message to and say, "Hey, just checking on you. You okay?
Right.
Is there anything I can do for you? I'm right here in your corner." Specifically, like during this COVID season, there's nothing you can do for someone if they have COVID. You really can't be at their house with them. There's no solution or cure. It just has to run its course and you hope for the best. But I think we should treat people who are having life circumstances as if they have COVID, in that analogy of,
Right.
if you can't do something like hands-on, at least just be there for them. Call them, text them, FaceTime them, check on them, because people need it. I have a question in your area of expertise, as you've helped people work through conquering their emotional roller coasters. What has been one of the biggest roadblocks in getting them to that place?
Well, I think one of the main things is not feeling supported.
Mm.
And the reason why they feel that way most oftentimes is, like you said, due to the isolation slash, I can't get to you like I used to. Things and people aren't as readily available as it used to be. So them feeling, like they're stuck or they can't get to that next point is because they don't have that circle or that shoulder to stand on. But you have to encourage them to let them know you can stand on your own 2 feet. You don't always need somebody's shoulder to stand on. Because guess what? Those shoulders that you're standing on, those shoulders aren't everlasting. Those shoulders aren't strong enough to carry you plus them, because they have their own issues too. So God gave us all 2 feet. So the 2 feet that you have, use those to stand on and not necessarily rely on somebody. So if you get somebody to in your circle to help you, that's good. That's a bonus. And we all need somebody, to kind of pat us on the back and give us that encouragement. But if you're rooted in yourself to know that, hey, I can do this, then if you don't get that phone call, if you don't get that text, you're not going to go to the grave just because that doesn't happen. But, if you do get it, okay, yeah, that's an extra added, bonus that you can get to kind of help push you forward. But it's good to have the support, and we all need it, and it's good. I always encourage that. It's one of the things that I talk about during the emotional roller coaster is finding some support, and I like to, instead of calling it support, I usually say, find you an accountability partner. Find you that one person, not a yes ma'am or yes sir person. You want an accountability person. And the 3 things I like to use when you're looking for that person is someone that first of all, you need to know them well. Number 2, you need to love them. And then number 3, you need to trust them. So if you know them, you love them and trust them. And if they give you something that you don't want to hear, you'll still receive it. It may hurt a little bit. It may not feel good, but you'll still receive it because because what? You know them, you love them, and you trust them. They're not going to give you any bad information, and everything that they're going to tell you or that they're going to show you or do for you is going to be in your best interest. So in going through this pandemic, when you can't get to that, that group that you're used to running with. I mean, we all have a little crew, 2 or 3 people that we can kind of, rub elbows with. But if you can't get to those 3 people, if you got that one accountability partner that's going to say, hey, what you're doing is right or what you're doing is wrong, or I'm there for you, whatever those things are that you're dealing with, that accountability partner is going to be with you, ride or die. But in searching for your accountability partner, keep in mind that individual doesn't mean that individual is going to do the same for you, if that makes sense. And what I mean is, right, they may be your accountability partner, but you may not be theirs. So, yeah. So I know you mentioned earlier about you're going to start back out, you're going to get back to walking and exercising. So you may have an accountability partner that's going to help you, eat right, exercise, and do all of those things. But that doesn't mean that you can call him up and say, hey, dude, when's the last time you walked? And he's like, hey, back off. You asked me to help you, not me help you, So remember that. And it also has to be a mutual agreement. You want to make sure that individual is on board with doing that, because some people don't want that responsibility. I don't want to be that person that's going to hold you accountable, and then that individual is not there to hold your hand for every single thing. They're just there to, like, you put your back to someone. They'll be there to hold you up, but don't call them for everything that you're dealing with. I mean, they're not your police, but they are there when you're in those moments where you feel like, okay, hey, I need something. Can you help me? Or I'm about to next drink, or I'm about to go this place that I know I'm not supposed to go. Whatever it is, I need you to help me, talk me out of it. Help walk with me through this thing. So keeping in mind that you might need to get you an accountability partner, but that person is there just as it says, they hold you accountable. So you can't get mad at them if they tell you, you can't do this or you shouldn't be doing that, knowing that it's coming from a good place.
That's good. That's good. I wanna add something to that. Our time is wrapping up, but I want to add something to that. That person also isn't your therapist.
That's
You
right.
need a separate person who is licensed to be your therapist.
Yes.
Hello, somebody.
Hello, somebody. Come on, help.
You need an accountability partner, and you need a therapist. And I love how you shared that just because you're that for them doesn't mean they're going to be that for you, or vice versa. And that helps, because I think that's where we get to expectations in relationships, which is a whole nother segment, but you've helped us so much. Our time has literally just shot right past us. But before we leave today, can you give us some nuggets as we are on this path to conquering the emotional roller coaster? Can you give us one last nugget to get us through this week?
Sure. I'll just recap once again. If you feel yourself, having a bunch of emotions going out of whack, allow yourself to feel, take a moment, sit in it. And then I failed to mention, give yourself a grace period. Once you get that grace period, once it's over, then you're able to refocus, regroup, get your fresh set of eyes, get your fresh set of thoughts, and then so that you can be able to move forward and have a clear head. But also just remember, again, going back to our first segment, it's just temporary. Stay in that moment that you're in. Don't look too far ahead, because if you start trying to count your chickens before they hatch, then you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to wonder when the chickens are hatching. You're going to wonder how many are hatching, what they're going to be doing when they get there. So don't look too far ahead. Stay where you are. Allow yourself to feel. Get your emotions intact with that. And then once you do that, you'll be ready to go.
Thank you so much. I hope you all have enjoyed Ms. Montre Ashley. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. You have been so dynamic in helping us get through this. Family, please share this with someone you know. Tag them to it. Ms. Montre Ashley, if we want to get in touch with you, how do we do that?
Sure, you can reach me. I have a website, www.coachinginstinct3.com, and that's instinct with an E and the number 3. My Instagram is called2coachtrey, and that's the number 2. And Twitter is MontreCE3.
Great. Well, family, you have that information. Please make sure you hit her up. Thank you so much for joining us. And my parting words to you is this: it will be okay. Some of you out there, you've been on highs and lows, and sometimes you feel overwhelmed, but I will tell you that the sun will come out tomorrow. Sometimes those nights may seem really long, but the battle that you are facing mentally, emotionally, it is not the end, and it will not last always. Until next time, be strong, be confident, know that you are loved, and most of all, protect your sound mind. Take care.